5 things to consider before thinking about adding a tankless water heater to your RV. You're not going to want to miss this one. So go ahead and stay tuned and we'll get right into it. As some of you guys know, I have had a tankless water heater for a little while. I upgraded it back in a previous video that you guys saw, and I had to make some modifications to make it fit. However, it hasn't been easy sailing with what I have going on with this, and I wanted to make a video to show you guys some of the things you have to be aware of if you're going to consider a tankless water heater like this one. So number 1, build quality. This has been a pretty decent heater as far as coming on and providing me with, well, unlimited on-demand hot water. But as you will see, there is some areas of concern on the outside of this. It comes with a number of screws to install this thing. Generally, there's usually enough, but in some cases there's not, and there's one thing you have to watch for. And what I've noticed is that some of the screws are rusting out, and you'll see like that puddle area right there where it looks like water can enter in through these front vents and cause this heater to rust. So if you're going to buy one of these, you want to make sure that it isn't going to leak inside the access panel, because you don't want to damage the electronics or have it rust out. Also, as a side note on this one, is just to make sure that you get the right size with the right door. There's a lot of cheaper heaters on there under $500, and like this one, I had to make a modification to make this thing fit because they didn't have a door big enough. So make sure you measure twice before you order one of these, because sending one of these back is not the easiest thing in the world. Ignore the panel on the side. I still need to paint that. So far it's held up. That's originally, my old heater went all the way across here, so this one's just a little bit smaller, so I needed to fill in the gap. One of these days I'll get around to painting that. Anyway, on to number 2. Alright, number 2 here. The faucet. This is just a regular faucet for a shower, and it's a mixer valve. It goes hot and cold. Well, with a tankless water heater, you don't want to mix it a lot of cold. In this thing, you really can't control how much cold you're putting into your hot. And the problem is the water heater doesn't want to trigger on. And you can't really control the pressure very well with this. You kind of turn it on and it starts mixing the hot and the cold almost immediately. That is not something you want. A result of this is that sometimes I would turn the hot water on to take a shower, and I wouldn't have any hot water, or it would just suddenly go cold. Also, I noticed that the water pressure on this was much lower than the other ones that are designed for RVs. This is designed for a mobile home. It will fit in an RV because a lot of the piping is the same. But again, you want to be careful because it's not designed to work at a much lower pressure. And when it starts adding in a bunch of cold immediately, that water heater cannot kick on. So what I have gone and done is I have swapped out the faucet in the bathroom, and I'm going to show you that, guys, right now. Alright, so as nice as that other faucet might have been, and this one looks a little bit more basic, you want that separated hot and cold. Why? Well, I told you guys, because you don't want to mix that cold in too much. So my hot is on the left-hand side right here, and then my cold is on the right-hand side. So I started off with the hot on full blast. Once the water heater gets up to its operating temperature, then you can add in a little bit of cold. Just a little bit. But remember, these water heaters preferred if you set the temperature on the water heater that you want your water to be. And we will show you guys that towards the end of the video so that you can get a perfect temperature without even have to add in any cold. Anyway, on to number 3. Number 3. See if you can guess what it is. If you guessed water pressure, you would have been wrong. If you guessed the time it takes the water to get hot, then you'd be correct. Can you imagine this being a problem when you're off-grid? Let's say you've only got so much water, and what, it maybe takes 10 to 15 seconds. That is 10 to 15 seconds of your precious water just gone down the drain just for it to get hot. It's as simple as that. If you're going to be off-grid, unless you have big tanks, like I do, I have a 100-gallon freshwater tank. We're going to stop wasting water. Unless you have a 100-gallon freshwater tank or a pretty sizable one that's close, you're not going to want to do this because it's going to take some time for it to get hot. They call them instant hot water heaters, but really the term is incorrect. It's a tankless. It still has to get hot. It doesn't happen in an instant. It takes 10 to 15 seconds for that water heater to heat up. Anyway, that's number 3. On to number 4. Number 4. Water pressure. Bear in mind that tankless water heaters are designed to come on when they detect a certain water pressure in the hot water system that is provided by the cold from a hose. So if you're using like a shed setup such as I am right here, where you're splitting off the connection, or maybe you're just at a campground where the water supply is not too good, or even your onboard water, like you're using a pump to conserve water or a special kind of shower head to conserve water, that is another consideration. You're not going to get a constant flow of hot water unless your pressure is above a certain amount. So make sure to read the manual and specifications on whatever water heater that you're considering to see if it's going to meet the specifications of the minimum water pressure that you're hoping to achieve. On to the final one, number 5. Number 5, setting the temperature. As I explained inside earlier, you want to go onto the control panel and you want to set the temperature of what you want your water to be at. My current readout is saying that the water is 105 degrees right now. And that's the temperature that it is detecting. You can go ahead and turn this up with the up and down arrows to set the temperature that you want. Once you set the temperature, then when you turn on the hot water, it's always gonna be at that temperature. That's what you want to do if you don't want to have to add any cold. Me personally, I prefer to be in the middle and just add in a slight bit of cold, because there's some days when I want a really hot shower and there's other days when maybe I'm just trying to cool off, so I don't want it to be as hot. That's number 5. Alright guys, well thanks for watching. I hope that was very helpful to you. I thought I'd try a new video format out. I've been getting some feedback from somebody that I've been talking to locally that kind of does some YouTube stuff. So shout out to him. He's a guy I met at the Verizon store. That's really all I have for this one. I guess if you want to see more content, go ahead and smash that like button, consider subscribing, leave a comment. It really does help the analytics, and it is a free way that you can help me. If you do want to send me a little something, you don't have to. It's totally optional. I did leave a link down below for Buy Me a Coffee. It's a fun little way to, send your creators something, say you appreciate them. But again, that's not required. I much prefer the likes and the subscriptions, and definitely your comments. Anyway, I'm going to cut it right here, but that's all I got time for. From me and Doss Kitty here, who is laying right beside me sleeping, I will see you guys in the next video. Alright, thanks for joining us. Peace out.